Excited? Welcome back to Merc League. A new replica item was added this patch, Replica Maata's Teaching. This scepter sets the base attack time of your non-scepter minions to that of your main hand weapon. As it turns out, a lot of minions have very poor base attack time, and this weapon is a massive boost. Shout out to Tables, who did a lot of research on what this affects. I'll put his video in the description where he basically goes over every minion and how well it buffs it. There are a lot of builds you can try with this, but I wanted to try out Herald of Agony, which gets more than double attack speed from this weapon. Now I main hand this weapon. You can technically wear it in offhand and use a attack speed stat stick in your main hand to get even faster, but Maata's already attacks pretty fast and the shield slot is too strong. But anyway, Herald of Agony is a herald skill that gives small personal buffs to poison, as well as summons a minion when you poison something. This minion gains flat damage, increased damage, and attack speed based on how many virulence stacks you have. You gain virulence stacks when you poison something, anything, including yourself. So Golden Rule will double your stack amount. Base virulence from a 2123 gem in a green socket is 48. You can get more by stacking Pure Agony Noticeable found on medium cluster jewels. I get 6 in this build for 78 virulence. At max stacks, Herald of Agony is doing some obscene damage, but there is a catch. Stacks fall off faster the higher you have, so upkeep is a constant issue. Look at how much less damage I do at half stacks. Now this is mostly capped in clear, but it needs a lot of frequent hits to keep it up in single target. Modern Herald of Agony builds use either bows and mana forged arrows or lancing steel spraying as their poison applicator, but we can't do that with a scepter. So I went old school and decided to use Stormbrand, the old Herald of Agony poison enabler. Stormbrand is a brand that does periodic damage that chains when attached to a target. We keep this low level for mana costs. For a spell to poison, it needs a chance to poison as well as a flat source of chaos or physical. We get chaos from a ring. One brand is good enough for clear, but having 2 brands hitting one enemy only gives about 35 stacks. To get the rest, we need Tornado of Elemental Turbulence. This skill summons up to 3 tornadoes that seek enemies and do pulsing damage, perfect for poisoning. We do level this one as levels give the tornado movement speed. With 2 brands and 3 tornadoes, we can keep up all stacks on single target. At least I think so. The boss health bar blocks the buff bar, so I can't even check. Although I do think these POB numbers are suspect. POB says crawler should attack over 9 times per second, and while my crawler attacks really fast, it's not that fast. But this is more than enough for Ubers. I almost never do Ubers, and these have been pretty painless. I do die, but that's just skill issue, not the build's fault. Damage can be even higher with a gem swap, but I forgot and killed them all with Pierce. So technically the damage could be 8 million DPS higher. And since half of our damage is hit and half from poison, we avoid hitting dot cap. Now this is a Luminary going full right side. If you want a deeper dive on Luminary mechanics for right side, you can watch my previous explosive concoction video where I go into more detail. I did, however, find a problem with it with this build. Since I'm CI and my life is always 1, Loyal Bodyguard's damage taken is always active. This is great for uptime, but I am an Aegis build. If I tank large groups of mobs, I will survive, but I will chip damage my Merc to death. So while this build should be good for things like Simulacrum, and I did finish one, the Merc dies from us being too tanky. Speaking of Merc, I'm using a Wither Touch, using Greater Soul Rend and Essence Drain of Wickedness, with utility of Malevolence and Wither Totems. As for gear, Malevolence effect on body, amulet, corrupt, and the weapon, totaling 298% Malevolence effect. Despair and Enfeeble on hit gloves, and a Wither effect anoint. This character uses a Bane with temp chains, but Bane doesn't hit and won't apply the glove curses. The 2 other chaos skills do have a hit component, and that's where the curses are applied. Anathema for curse limit, and a Calm's Bindings for Simfist defense. This Merc is amazing. It has a single damage mod on her, and she clears packs. Her Bane has a massive cast range and will kill them before my minions even start attacking. Essence Drain has a life leech effect, so sustain is no issue here, and her Wither Totems are on point, even better than a player casted one. I have no complaint at all, there could not be a better partner. Now there is a bug in POB. I reported it, but if the Merc has Wither stacks on their POB and you do on yours, they double dip. This bug deluded me into thinking I was doing 50 million DPS, but unfortunately it is only 35. I used some custom mods and some gems to get around that. I am using Skin of the Lords again. Great for gem levels and really strong body armor all around. Rune Binder for the Keystone, very cheap and saves 2 points. I am CI, Armor ES Hybrid with an Aegis, so I need high defensive rolls on all of my gear. For some reason, I decided to craft everything myself, and I probably spent at least 15 divines in sulfur alone. And funny enough, I made money during this by selling off my miscraps. If you were to just buy equivalents on trade right now, they would be about 3 to 5 divines each. Amulet is a scrappler talisman that gives +2 to Herald gems. You can get implicits on talismans from the leak mechanic. First apply a gilded fossil, and then use Ukatoa's Ducat to convert it to an influence implicit. I had to roll a few of these to get a decent mod, and I just took the first one that looked good. I then rolled it for +1 in attributes. It could be better, but this is good enough. Traditionally, people would use Ashes of the Stars for the quality, and this is comparable to that of a Perfect Ashes. Either work. One of my rings is a Circle of Nostalgia with crawler damage and reservation efficiency. I got an Onslaught Unhit ring for really cheap. I guess no one does Herald of Agony. The other ring is a rare of 4 minion resistances. Belt is 100% Darkness Enthroned. One of the jewels is 50% Shock Avoid to fully proc Storm Shroud, and the other is 4 minion poison chance. Our only source of minion poison chance comes from Abyss jewels, so every open socket has poison chance ghastlies in it. This will also fully proc Anamanu's Gaze as well. For an Aegis build, I don't have a lot of baseline armor or block. I do cap block through the use of multiple Replica Reckless defenses and Arumis. Armor is gained through flasks and Perfect Guardian Turtle's Determination aura. I am using a Brutal Restraint for Trader and Flask Sustain and some Dex. It's only about 23k armor with everything up, which is not that much. It's still plenty recovery for the most part, just not on the level of the super immortal Aegis builds. Not even infinite POB EHP, only a paltry 550k. Realistically, it's 100k EHP with gain on hit off. My other Spectre is a Forest Tiger for frenzy charges. It would be a perfect Forest Tiger if they didn't cost 63 divines, and I have a tendency to kill off my own Spectres while changing my gear around. Survivability wise, they only died once in a simulacrum. I'm also using an Animate Guardian, using a Kingmaker and Garb of the Ephemeral. AG is the weakest point here, it dies constantly. I even invested in minion block on the tree to try to help it, and it barely helps. Also, the Merc takes up the role of extra curses, which the AG no longer has. Curse limit snapshots to the last applied curse, so adding in curses to AG would make everything worse. There's probably something I could add to the helm, gloves, or boots to help with defensiveness. I just don't know AG gearing enough. This build is relatively affordable for what it is. Around 40 divines in cost, and 15 divines of that is just a Kingmaker, which you can just not use. It does, however, take a lot of time to gear, as there are 9 cluster jewels you have to roll. It still has a lot of room to grow as well, but it gets exorbitantly expensive. Upgrading to a perfect Forest Tiger for Histor, I mentioned before, but it's going for 63 divines. Switching the Reckless defenses to a Necromancer Forbiddens would be a defensive upgrade, but also cost 120 divines. With all cluster jewel stacking builds, using voices would be a huge upgrade. 5 passive voices are only 35C and are side grids to normal clusters. I actually use one, but only one, because my other largest have load-bearing attributes on them. 3 and 1 passive voices are huge upgrades, but cost 160 divines to 1 mirror respectively. Our only source of minion poison chance is Abyss jewels, so getting another open socket is 10% more damage each. Mage Blood, obviously, would be a big upgrade. It would fix flash uptime and offset resistances. I don't like using Mage Blood in these videos. It makes builds unrelatable, as the entire build is usually tuned around it. The entire point of this channel is making unique meme builds on a budget. But I don't feel the need to upgrade this further. It already does everything I wanted it to. Now, it's probably obvious if you watch the video, but the frame rate is kinda bad. Whenever Agony Crawler attacks, I immediately lose 20 FPS. It did improve a little bit when giving it an MTX, but it still seems to be the crawler's fault or all of the poisons I'm applying. It gets much worse in high density, but the build is tanky enough and works with low inputs, just tough out the lag spikes. My 8-year-old potato still has life in her yet, just live for 2 more years and surely the RAM would come down by then. Gameplay wise, it's pretty low maintenance. Great for mapping, you just really need to cast 1 Stormbrand every other pack and the crawler just clears. We have a lot of move speed as well, so it's a pretty comfortable mapper. If a rare spawns, 2 brands and a few tornadoes is enough. There is damage ramp with stacking Wither, Poison, and Virulence, so rares and bosses don't immediately die. There are mana problems in prolonged encounters, but you're usually fully ramped by then, so it's not the biggest problem. Flash sustain while clearing, but fall off during a single target. It's a small issue. Defensively, I only really had issues with degens, noticeably no way to clear bleeding, normal bleeding. I still have corrupted blood immunity. It didn't happen much, but it was something I noticed. So I'm giving this build a 9.5 out of 10. The only problem is the lag, and that's just a me problem. It does everything, mapping, bossing, with little input and not that high of a budget. I was going to skip the Uber challenge this league, but once this build took off, I just did them all in one go. Replica Maata's is incredibly strong, almost too strong. I'm really surprised it didn't blow up in popularity. It can be used for a lot more than just this, like animate weapon, chains of command, Reaper of Revenants. I don't really play minion builds, so this is the best I could do. Try it out, you might find something good. And that's about all for this one. Originally this was actually going to be an Impale build with a Pride Merc, because I just found it funny. It was doing about 20 million damage, but poison was double that, so I just couldn't justify it. Something about minion Impale with the Call of Steel Merc sounded really cool though.